I'm Kyle Smith, the chapter leader. First off, we'd definitely like to say thank you to all of our sponsors. NI, great location, and the drinks and the cookies are all NI. But the best thing is food. Everything you all go to LASCON, LASCON sponsors our food for the whole year. So if you all go, make sure you all sign up for LASCON in October when we get, well, tickets are available now. But make sure you sign up for LASCON because that's paying for all this stuff that you all get to come to. Chapter leadership, once again, I'm Kyle Smith, the chapter leader. You can reach me at kyle.smith@owasp.org. There's a whole bunch of other chapter leadership. Kate Brew is up here, our speaker coordinator. We have Matt Pardo, who is actually probably up to his eyeballs in B-sides right now. So he's about our education coordinator, and Kate wants.
We have a couple of openings for speaking this year. So if you want to speak, let me know.
Probably kate.brew@owasp.org. Most likely, that's what they tend to give us our email addresses as. Or we'll figure out, or you can always email it to me and I'll make sure it gets to her. We have Tiana as our sponsor coordinator. She did a great job for NI and LASCON. She also makes sure all the happy hours are done. So we have all those with sponsors set up. If you want to sponsor, if you have a company that wants to sponsor into the happy hours, or even LASCON for that matter, talk to Tiana about that. Ryan Murphy is our marketing coordinator. He's not here at the moment. Griff, you probably saw him at the door. He's our membership chair. He's also our great cat wrangler for LASCON, so those are two great things he does for us. And of course, we have everybody else who has been a former chapter leader or a very significant contributor of either LASCON or just the chapter in general, which you can see us. CPEs, make sure you sign in or check your name off. So therefore, if you ask, hey, do I need CPE credit or anything, we can send you something. Otherwise, we have no idea if you're here. If you're online Zoom, that's a little bit more difficult, but we'll figure something out on that. Support OWASP. There's a lot of different ways you can support OWASP besides volunteering. We're all volunteers. We get paid so much to do this stuff. There's also, you'll get some leadership opportunities out of it, get to stand up in front of people, even though you may not like doing it. There's also speaking opportunities, which Kate is great about arranging those. Other local events we try to do a training event somewhat during the year. Hopefully we'll get around to one this year. It's just really hard. And otherwise, but you can also support OWASP from like the Smile, Amazon, and keep in mind OWASP is a tax-deductible organization, 501c3, so they do tax deductions, and your company may match stuff if you really want to give to OWASP. Membership is also there. 1 year, $50, 2 years, what, 95, lifetime 500, which I should have done at this rate. Probably Josh's lifetime and everything from what he's done. There's also corporate memberships, which we say starting at 5, but OWASP Foundation has changed a little bit, so there's much more higher level corporate memberships, which can go up to $100,000, but it's also helping a lot for the global AppSec and a lot of the projects. And your name and the company's organization's name gets associated very closely with OWASP and shows up on a lot of the banners and other things. Also, if you know any students, we have student membership. It's really reduced price, so please talk to us. Or actually, please talk to Griff. He's our membership coordinator. So he knows all the details, allegedly. Yeah, whatever. There is an OWASP OWASP mailing list. It's in Google Groups now. It's not really a mailing list if you want to look at it that way, but it's Google Groups, and it works well for us. You'll get notifications. It's really a quiet list. We basically say, hey, when events are occurring or when things are upcoming that are associated with us. There is a study group. The chapter still has a study group going on Thursday, and they're doing hacker challenges, which is a lot of online activities. I unfortunately have not been involved with him, and Matt is, like I said, up to his neck in B-side, so I don't have a lot of detail on this, but you can reach out to Matt Pardo, and he will be able to give you info. Or does Griff have any info? Or nothing.
I was going to say nothing really to add. We meet on Thursdays from 12 to 1 in another building at NI here. It's free and open to anyone that wants to come. Right now we're working on Hack the Box, which is an online challenge. I think they're based in the UK. And we hack a box every week or two as a group and discuss it and talk about techniques and things like that.
So you can learn all types of stuff from the various folks that show up there and or teach people as the case may be. And save your date. Like I said, LASCON 2020 is coming October 29th and 30th this year here in Austin, still at the Norris Conference Center. Early bird tickets are available. I think the price might go up in a month or 3, but I'm not sure exactly. And our CFT and CFP is going to be available soon. It is not ready yet. Otherwise, upcoming events, March 12th. We have the happy hour. Like I said, Tiana has managed to get Rapid7 to be a great sponsor once again. So it's March 12th at the Domain, 5:30 to 7:30 at the Brass Tap. Free drinks A lot of good socialization. It's a great location. We like it. Our last location was good, but this one's better. We got a nice little private area. It's really, really impressive, and Griff still wants to talk some more.
Did you say that again? Did you say free drinks?
Yes, free drinks. Yes, please take a picture and pass it on to your friends. Everybody's invited. Other upcoming events, you can see there's a lot of stuff going on in Austin. This is not everything, obviously. Does anybody else have any other events they want to talk about besides what I kind of searched around and put up here? Any other local conferences that are going on or anything else like that?
Linux Fest is going to be here in Austin this year, and it's May the 2nd and 3rd, right before DevOps Days.
I'll try to get that one up there next time, Linux Fest. So yeah, that's a good one too. So like I said, we have B-sides. Matt Parter will rejoin us after a B-side sometime. But otherwise, we have all the other conferences, B-sides, DevOps Days, HughesCon. If you know anything in San Antonio, they're still closed, things like that. If y'all want to make sure it's broadcast, we're ready. Job opportunities. This is a section we allow people to say if they are looking for a job or if they have jobs to offer. If anybody want to raise their hand, I will try to run over to you. Going once? Nope.
My name is Matt Fitzpatrick. Been working here in Austin since 2014 as a DevOps engineer, developer, looking for opportunities either in DevOps or DevSecOps. So I'm looking to get into Sec.
So see Matt after the meeting. And there's one other person. Got to run around here. Hold on.
Thank you, sir. Matt, we need to talk after this. So I'm actually looking for a DevOps person. I haven't been able to find one. Oh, Aaron Blackstone. I'm at DPS. Also have 2 senior level risk positions that are going to be coming over pretty soon. And then we have an information system security manager that's going to be coming opening as well. So check DPS. We've got some opening positions. Matt hopefully will be filling one in the near future, but hopefully everybody else. So thank you.
So there's lots of opportunities out there in Austin. Just got to connect to the right people. And now presenting the man who needs a very short introduction, Mark Spears, who will be talking about using Nmap's Xslt switch to better organize scan result data and other things, obviously.
Thank you.
One screen. I'd use screen 2 because I'm going out through the projector.
Gotcha. Is that only the PowerPoint?
Yeah, it should be.
So, well, I got stuff on not the PowerPoint. Try share here.
Please bear with on technical changes. Sounds like he's ready though.
No, I'm not ready. Well, I'm trying to, I'm going to need part of the screen, the laptop. It's not just the presentation.
Are you trying to show the slides right now?
Well, yeah, I'm trying to show whatever's on here. I think I'm broadcasting it there. Looks like that.
So if you want to...
And they said Zoom was so much easier.
Oh, here it is, here it is. Okay, gotcha. Here we go. We got it now. But I do want to share this. No, we'll be fine. All right. Got it. Hi, my name is Mark Spears. I'm a senior security consultant over at Solid Security here in Austin. We've been around about 20 years, and I've been around 20 years in the industry myself, but I started as a software developer, right before the turn of the century. Kind of sounds really bad, like the previous millennium. And then I've been around probably 2015. I owned a credit card processor, a level 1 gateway. I sold that, and I've been at Solace now for almost 5 years. So today we're going to talk about Nmap, something we use every day. I know we do a lot of, this is a web app pen testing crew, but there's times we're actually going through an environment trying to find websites to go attack, especially on the inside of a network where they obfuscate port numbers and do a whole bunch of tricks to try to keep us from getting into their system. So we're going to do a little bit of introduction on XML and Xslt. I'm sure we all know what XML really is, but Xslt has been kind of referred to as vaporware, even though it's underpinned in a lot of the applications we already use. And then we're going to talk about the Nmap output options and how to make custom Xslt transformations to go ahead and customize our output so it's more readable for us. And then, yeah. So kind of funny, we're talking about XML, but I know JSON's kind of like the new kid in the block, and everyone's kind of like trying to kick XML back in the corner, but some good comics there. So what is XML? It's extensible markup language. It's a W3C standard. It was made with some very simple goals in mind: to be human readable, to be easy to understand, to be machine readable, and it was really built with the internet in mind. Why did they make it? Well, about the time around 1998, 99, there was a lot of problems with the internet. It was largely broken because everybody wanted a website, and all these guys were writing websites, and a lot of them didn't deserve to write websites, to be quite honest with you. The standards for HTML were hitting 4.01. And it was just, there was a lot of websites that weren't doing well or weren't readable. So all the vendors were trying to fight for market share. And everyone was saying, oh, my site looks better on Netscape Navigator. Mine looks better on IE. Well, it really wasn't. All the browsers are supposed to do is just display back the HTML that comes back from the web. Really simple, especially back then when we didn't have all these modern Java frameworks that were really, really advanced. So, there was an estimated 40 to 70% I read at one point in time of the browser code back in those days that was meant to fix poorly written HTML. So, you got people trying to write bad websites, the browser vendors trying to fix them. So there was actually a bit of a browser war going on because everyone was fighting for market share. You had, again, Netscape Navigator, IE, Hot Dog, Gecko, a whole bunch of old names that aren't around anymore. And so at the top up here, you can see SGML, that's Standard Generalized Markup Language. That's a language-making language. So they use that language to make HTML, to define what markup and tags and how the structure goes. But that wasn't going well. So people were writing non-conforming HTML, so they came out with XML. And when they came out with XML, quite rapidly, if you follow the chronology on the far left, it came out, Xslt came out, and then a whole bunch of other standards followed, including XHTML, which is a predecessor to HTML5, SVG, SAML, SOAP, and the list goes on. So I'm sure we all know what XML is, but just for a quick sample, we've got two up here. It's just nested documents that are supposed to make sense and be very easily readable. This is a sample right from W3C Schools. Example 2, I just kind of nested the note into a notes, just kind of show how you can manipulate it easy. Some practical usages that came out almost immediately was we had disparate databases around the web, and so we were able to take data out of Oracle as XML and then import that data into like Microsoft SQL Server. You have to write your own transformations in your application around that, but it was very much doable because you couldn't move record sets well. SOAP APIs, as the second one shows, and the third one as application output. Nmap can output to XML, AppSpider, Nessus, NitCode, pretty much you name it, everything has an XML output. And anyone here from Rapid 7? I love your product, but it's a lot of money, and I'm taking it back 2 drinks at a time at the next happy hour. So I only got 2 hands. So, but it's just data, right? XML is just data. It's vaporware, right? We can read it, we can use it, and so what's next? How do I use this stuff? So Xslt came out really quickly behind XML, and where it came from was really, it was supposed to be XSL, and then it quickly got divided into 3 separate categories. You had Xslt for transformations, which is what we're talking about today. You had XSL-FO, which is gone, which was for formatting objects. So you can take an XML data set and convert it to a PDF. There was Apache projects back then that would work that way. Then XPath, which works with everything, which is kind of a way to navigate your XML DOM. So sample XSLT, we have our XML, we have our XSL, and kind of nesting them together. The portions in gray are kind of processing instructions. So I'm a XML version 1.0 document, and they both start off reading the same. And then on the XML, you can add another processing instruction to say, hey, I transform with this other document called cdcatalog.xsl. And then, of course, you have your catalog, and then you have the items in the middle. So the template match kind of matches the root of your XML, and then your 4 eaches in blue down here say find each catalog CD, and then give me the value of the title of the artist. So if I switch out, and go to go over here, here's a transformation. Kind of shows how it works. Should be the exact same namespace. Get down to where we need to be. And we can click view the result. And then boom, we have exactly what we said we wanted to look at. So very simple. If we view the source of this document, which I'm not getting view source. The source of the document would still be XML. So we're going to view it over here. We look at the elements as we would inspecting it, and we have our data in here. But then if we view the source itself, it's still the XML body right here. So that's kind of how that works. So wait, you're going to say, Mark, was that magic? How'd that stuff just transform that way? And I'm going to say, no, that's the job of an XML parser and a processor. And what's that look like? Well, here's a little diagram. We have an XML document, an Xslt document, it goes into the processor, and it comes out with whatever you're going to transform it as. And that's actually a real Harvard document link there. It's great. And then where can I find them? Well, everywhere. Your browsers have them. Your IDEs have them. Everything has them nowadays. Your frameworks. And then you're going to ask me, does this work with blockchain? I'm going to say no. It really was magic. So these technologies can be used to do some cool stuff. Like you can take XML and convert it to other kinds of XML. You can take XML and turn it into a CSV file or HTML or just plain text. You could copy specific DOM objects or combine them into multiple documents. You can include and combine data from other documents, and you can fix blockchain. So there's a full list of places you can go here to go look at the language reference itself, because you can include inside of it, you'll see in a minute here, JavaScript and other tools. So the do I have that page over here? Yes. So I pulled up a couple of those websites just to show them off. Here we have a quick ref from Mulberry Tech. I think this is from 2000, but it's still on the web. So you can see how to use the language, how to look for nodes. It's really a very basic markup language. There's nothing more to it. The problem you may come across is some of your processors don't work the same across different applications. So, including combined data from other documents. We're going to include outside documents in this XML? Yeah, we can. But that's also one of our OWASP top 10 XML external entities, or it's OTG-INFO-004. So I pulled up a list, and there was an incident in April of 2019 where IE had a problem where an attacker could use a malicious XML file with external entity references, meaning you can reference other XML documents not even at your location, just they're across the web and hosted, and abuse it using the file protocol. So the proof of concept was someone hosted a document that had these entity references. Go backwards. They had these entity references, and they are able to proof of concept bad things happening. So the Microsoft basically came back and said, well, that's really social engineering. We're not going to fix that. But it's something we had to deal with as pen testers all the time. We find XML documents. We find people putting documents that didn't belong on the web server using file uploads or other routines they could find. So this is the way this attack happens. Either you have to be the pooled website, or you would have to have someone put people go into your browser there. So what about Nmap? Let's go back to our main topic over here. So there's two outputs with Nmap, or there's multiple outputs, but the normal output is -on with the file name, and that's going to give you what we'd see as a normal text over here. And then we have the -O capital X file name, which tells you output this as XML. So we would, just looking at this, it looks like XML for sure. So some fun facts: running Nmap and then saving your XML file or your results as XML, which is an option, makes you think you're saving it as XML, but you're not. It's just wrapping the text in an XML header, and that's it. So don't get confused by that one. The other one is Nmap deprecated the greppable output response -O capital G, but they kept the script kiddie output. Does that make sense to anybody there at all? No. So XML is great. I mean, how many in the room here really feel they're an expert at grepping, awking, setting, or they just love to do that? All right. Take your 12-sided die and put your hand down. So the rest of us, we use XML, right? So all good. So if we go look at the man page for this, a couple cool things that they did. So there's our normal outputs. The dash X, they say, hey, let's use the XML. It's far more superior to grepping and awking. The script can the output. And for sure, look, there it is, deprecated on the greppable stuff. So with the XML, it's interesting too because you can actually do something like give it an XSL document. So Nmap by default already has an XSL document built into it. Anybody use that default XSL transformation? It looks good. The colors are horrible, but I mean it does a good job of giving you the data back. Let's take a look at that right over here. So too long didn't read. So XML output is defined by a DTD, which Nmap keeps online at the repository. So you can go look at exactly what elements are to be expected. DTDs are, if you guys don't know what they are, DTDs and schemas represent how an XML document can be expected to look. How many times an attribute, the names of the attributes, the whole file structure. So the default XSL outputs for Windows would be under Program Files, and for Linux would be under User Share. So you can also use --web XML to use Nmap's online XSL, even though you already have it locally. And you can, if you use that tag, it'll just go online and use that XSL document up there. Or you can use --style sheet with your own custom XSLT for transforming it, and it'll add that line into the XML document for you. So we got some samples here. Want to take a look at these. So, where are you? So here's the default nmap.xsl file. There's nothing really grand about this, but you can see the language. And if you like, you guys can take this actually and modify your own copy and start from there. We can see at the top by the output that it's actually outputting to an HTML format. You want indenting, the encoding, the public doc type you want to use, as well as the system doc type. So you can declare variables. There's just so much you can do with this. If we just pan down, embed the style sheet data right into there. And then they also embed their JavaScript right into there. So you can have a fully interactive web page in the end, if that's your choice on output. So this is for each host, and then you can grab all this other data. So if we look at the actual Nmap XML, this is what it would look like right here. So you can see where it said grab these different elements over here. So Nmap run is their root level node, and then we can see where it's scanning hosts. It'll tell you actually right here in the actual Nmap the actual parameters used on your scan, so you can always recreate that. And it displays it on the page as well. Of course, I did redact the client data that we had in there. Thank goodness. I saw that before the meeting today. So, yeah, surprise, surprise. Glad my big boss wasn't here. So, anyway, so you see the data as it comes down. You know, and these are things we would be reading, but this is just human readable. It's not really an output we give to a client, right? So, we got different ports that are opened up on different devices and IPs. So, all that data is already in there. And if I go to again, this is using the standard -X. Double-clicking that should open a browser window for me. There it is. So opening that document, this is what we would get right here. So there's all the data that was in the XML file displayed back for you. Anybody seen this version before when you run an Nmap scan? Again, the default output is very horrible to read, just in that screen. You go to Nmap or whatever. So this is even, they've done something for you to give you results you can actually use, right? Like this, I can print this out and I could use this with the client. Yeah, this would be fine. I could put my logo up there, add my CSS, and I'm done. So, but yeah, so, and you know, you can even see down here, I'm not sure if it'll work, but that click to expand, there's that JavaScript stuff that was in there. So if I click it again, there it is. You know, popped up with another piece of the table with the JavaScript. So, you know, XSL is extremely powerful tool to have in your toolbox and to understand it's there to use. So there's that document. Now I did a couple really cool transforms that I'll share at the chapter if you guys want to put them online. Let's go over those real quick. So one thing is when we're enumerating very large environments that again we have a hard time finding those websites, right? We rely on the -SV to tell us, hey, is this a website? What is this? Give us the version of whatever port, what's running on that port. So I wrote a couple scripts around that. So let me pull up this XSL. And this is really simple. This is really simple. So that's the web XML, SMB. Let me get the right document for you guys. So this one just takes your Nmap, and I output it to HTML, but I have the output look like a CSV file. And I'll show you the results in here in a second. So this just takes the scan. The scan data is not in here. It's in the XML file, which is right here. But if I go to the top, this was the Nmap scan that I ran right there. -SV T4-O for operating system. Very, very, very verbose. Output to XML. I have to output the directory path or escape it because that's an escapable character. And I told it, output XML here, and then this is my style sheet name, -- style sheet. There's the name of it. There's the IP address range. So, you can get a lot of data back from these things. You're not sure what you're going to get. So really simple. All I'm doing in here with that XML is literally walking the template, giving it a title, naming my columns, putting in my CSV data with the quotes and the commas, and then I'm saying basically for each port, we're going to go get some data, right? So here we're grabbing the actual IP address. Here we're grabbing host names. Here we're grabbing operating system data, the protocol, and so on and so forth. You can see I'm adding again the whole way through, adding quotes, commas, and then a hard return. So at the end of each line. As a line break is HTML. So if I take that HTML, I'm going to open it with Internet Explorer. It comes back CSV inside of HTML document. So now if I basically take this and copy it all, open up an Excel spreadsheet, and bring it to the right side of my screen so I can figure out where I'm at. Paste that data into there. Then I go text to columns, word delimited, comma with text qualifiers, finish. There's all my data. And I can go over here and say format as table. Yes, we have headers. And boom, there's all of our scan data. And now we can easily take this data, and we have all the same stuff we had before, but we can really read this now. We can really dig in, get the team to look at stuff. So got the address, the host names have been removed for my sake of my job, the operating system, a protocol port, the state, service, the product, the version, and any extra information that came back. So that's really helpful, right? What's that? So so we can go into here and we can actually search for services that have a question mark where Nmap wasn't sure what the service was. I could filter and say I only want to see, open states. And these guys had a lot of HTTP. And SSH. And they had some telnet in there, but I'm really only at a OWASP meeting really concerned about things that were HTTP or HTTPS. So I can go over here and remove what I don't want to see. I want to see HTTP, HTTPS. I kind of want to see SOAP, yeah. And sometimes things will hide as TCP wrapped. You guys ever had that before? And it's really a website or some other weirdness going on. So I tend to look at those too. So now we've got kind of a good list of things to attack. I think we have 61 items in here. So from here we can run NITCO or Go Witness. Anybody here run Commando VM yet? No? Oh, all right. So we all love our Kali, right? I love Kali, right? Commando VM was made by Mandy and FireEye, and it's a Windows-based pen testing distribution. It is phenomenal. It is phenomenal. A lot of times when we go into an environment, adding a Linux box doesn't really help because we're going Linux against Windows, and it can be cumbersome sometimes, even though we know the tools we use. Well, this is now Windows going against Windows. So a lot of tools have been rewrote to work, and they've done a great job on it. I highly recommend you guys check it out. We use it a lot, especially for internal engagements, you know, so, and lateral movement. It's called Commando VM by Mandy and FireEye. Definitely worthwhile. So it's got Nmap, it's got all the tools you guys normally would have anyway. So that's one example, right? This help anybody here? Anybody done this before? Right? So, all right. So we got some advanced enumeration, right? Finally. All the fluff's gone. We got to the meat of the presentation. So I got one more to show you. I know I told you guys I would give information on cryptology and checking those parameters. I will add one to the presentation to give to share with the chapter. But what I brought this time was something that's really important for us to look at, which has nothing to do with OWASP, but it's Smb Protocol Checking on the inside of a network. So what I did with this one is I ran and I made another one of these XSL sheets, right? But the XML that goes with it, let me pull that up real quick. So it's going to kind of look funny. The Nmap that I ran may be easier to read from the presentation view. There we go. So the Nmap that I ran for this one, checking SMB, was -O capital X. I had a double escape. I don't know why, but I did. Where my XML file was that I wanted to save to, I used -- style sheet, and I created one called Nmap NSC SMB CSV working because the other ones didn't work. So that way we can remember when we go back and do another one of these down the road. So, and then I ran a script scan, right? This time we used more of the Nmap advanced features, right? I used SMB enum shares, SMB protocols, SMB OS discovery, because sometimes Nmap isn't great at OS discovery, and this gave it another shot using a different NSC script. So, and then script args, I gave it a username and a password because we're trying to get into like dumpster diving port 445, which is, anyone love doing that? It could be days, right? Like how many environments you guys have? They got just a ton of SMB shares out there, and you're like, man, like I have found logins to people's their domain registry. I'm like, man, I could take the domain down right now, you know, because they don't have, you know, the EPP code set, right? So we find a lot of stuff in these dumpsters out there that people use called shares. So I ran that on a segment, and again, I'll pull up the XML results for that because they were a little different. Because now we ran NSC scripts, and it came back with data just a hair differently. All these were closed ports. I'm going to page down quite a bit here to get past all these closed ports or down ports. Task progress. And then let me go ahead and format this in a way we can read it. There we go. Task progress. Okay, so here we can see where it's doing OS class checking for operating systems. And it gives you like, hey, here, I'm at 100% here. am I 100% here? You know, so it's giving you all the data back that we would normally see, just more of it. And then look at this. Under that host, it says we ran a script called Smb enum shares, and there's the XML, right, that came off of that. So how will we know what to expect, right? Like, how will I know what to expect besides running it? Well, running it's a good way to look through the XML and go, okay, here's where my data's at, right? But the other way you could do it is by going to your C drive or wherever you store your Nmap at, and then if you go to Nmap and you go to your NSC scripts, right, and I do a search for Smb enum shares, and I open this with Notepad, or code, who cares, yeah, good. So we can read this NSC script, and when we go down here, it gives you the variables, and look at that. It tells you the usage and the output. Beautiful. So we can kind of see, and sometimes in here, it'll actually give you the XML output too. Look at that, right? So just a little bit of reading, and we know what we're already looking for. So very helpful to even know what you're going after before you go hit it. So I go back to my document. Here's my data. It's coming back with share information. So now I'm going to turn around and I'm going to run this script. Open this with Explorer. Boom, here's all of our data, right? So looks pretty nasty, but we know it's just a CSV file. So Control A, Control C. Let's go back to our Excel file, go to a second tab. Dump it over here. All right, now I'm going to go to Data, Text to Columns, delimited yes, comma, standard. There's all of our data. Go back to our first one over here, Home, Format as Table. We have headers, and look at that. Now, we got some really readable SMB share data, which I had to remove some, obviously, for the sake of my job again. So but you know, these guys had, how many shares are in here? These guys had, like, in this case, 47, but I think in total, I think they had like 400 and something SMB shares out there, right? So going through and enumerating, trying to find out, you know, like what level of access can get in, which ones we can get into, and the structure that's in there, and what we're going to go after, what we're going after config files. With this engagement, they were I can't say who they were, obviously, but let's just say they did web development with .NET, and in a lot of their shares, they had .config files for their websites, and that's how we gained admin access to the database, because they didn't have it encrypted. So, again, dumpster diving, you'll spend hours doing it, but you're going to get usually a good result out of it. So if we want to look around this document just a little more to kind of get what we got, you know, as we go across over here, look at that. We also ran the SMB checks, and there's our data. You know, so we know if we've got vulnerabilities, or at least if Nmap thinks they're vulnerable to any of the SMB vulnerabilities, we can at least go check that now, right? So we've done a good job on discovery. So now we can pull out our Metasploit or your favorite tool and go run Eternal Blue. So, and then we get the location of different shares, comments, max users, and we can see if anonymous users have read access. Look at that. We got some places to go check out, right? So that's kind of it for the presentation today. Anybody have any questions about what we went over? I know XSL seems like, I know what XML is, I know what XSL is, but I don't know if anybody really has wrote their own transformations, and they're really not that hard. They're really not that hard. So, yes?
So I think this exercise is good. Now, do you think if we did it on a continuous monitoring scale, where it constantly filtered out new and essentially bad guys or new servers coming online, on an active scale, that would be really valuable to look at on an everyday scale, like, whoops, I got 5 new added. And
like 5 new SMB shares or
yeah,
5 new, yeah.
Or new ports that showed out of nowhere and it's not approved by our security team, let's say.
Right. So, I mean, of course, like that's one of the holy grails of security, right? Is like, how do we know when, like, you know, we run an MSSP and we have a lot of customers, and when we talk to them in our monthly report, we want to say to them, hey, there is one new server popped up. Like, where did that come from? Because, you know, like the IT team didn't give us a change order, right? So, absolutely looking for diffs. You know, I'll bet you could use this for that. You know, I have seen other tools out there like Succubus. You've seen Succubus? It saves, I think, it's NBE files, but it looks at the diffs between scans. And so if you can look at that, it'll tell you, hey, this is new. How do you want to deal with it? And it kind of stores it there. It's more of a text-based editor, but it's actually good too. But yes, absolutely.
Any more questions? Eventually, yes.
Yeah, I'll give the slides over, and I'll give those 2 transforms over and with the sample data. So if you guys want to play with them a little bit, feel free. You're welcome.
And I guess that's it. And we'd like to give you one of the coins for OWASP Boston. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And that's it for the chapter meeting. See you all at the happy hour, hopefully in March.